Okay guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how to change the oil in your shocks. So I'm just going to adjust the light here. Now I'll be showing you in my Mini E-Revo. I'll show you how to do it. But first of all, tools you'll need. So basically this is a pretty simple job. All you'll need is some paper towel, your actual shock oil, the 2mm Allen wrench, and your pliers. So like the Allen wrench size may be different for removing the shocks for different vehicles, but all the Traxxas shocks are basically the same principle. So let's get started. We'll start out by removing the rear shock. And my car's just disassembled because I've been doing some maintenance on it, so I have to I'm waiting for some new gears for the servo to come in because I accidentally ruined my nice servo from Hobby King when I was trying to waterproof it, or de-waterproof it, because I thought the oil was clogging it, and I actually ruined it. So unfortunately I have to go back to my old 2080 Traxxas servo, but that's okay. Anyway, so once you've removed the shock, it's just two simple screws, one attaching to the arm here, and the other is bolted in at the back. So once you remove those two screws, the shock should pop out. It might take a little bit of force, but not too much. It should just pretty much just there. It should just pop out. You just put your screws back in there so you don't lose them. Alright. So this is our shock. Basically you have the spring, and then inside this part up here there's some oil. So we are going to change this oil out because the stock shocks don't really come with much oil at all, and it's the wrong weight. So what we're going to do is basically this will tune our vehicle and make it a lot better handling. So I'm going to just screw down the a little adjuster thing, this ring here, to compress the shock spring so I can get my pliers. I don't know if you can see on the camera, but there's actually there's two flat spots on either side where you can grab it with pliers. So you're going to just grab that with some pliers, right like this. Yep. And just stick your Allen wrench in here and turn left, counterclockwise. So you just screw the cap off, and then there's some oil in here. There's not that much. This shock is really empty. So we'll just turn it upside down, let it drain out. It's black just because of all the dust and dirt and stuff that's gotten in there. I think originally was clear. Some of it looks clear, so I think it was clear. Now, it might take your shocks a while to drain. So what you can do, you can just set them upside down on a paper towel and let them drain, or you can also, to make them drain faster, you can set them upside down and you can push them down a bit, like compress them a bit. And that should force some of the oil out. Now you can also go in there with the paper towel and just go, take a corner and go in there and get some of it out. So you can, depending on how thick the oil was that was in there and how much of it was in there, it'll take varying time to come out. But once you got most of it out, that's okay. If there's a bit left, it's not a huge deal. So our next step, we're going to take our shock oil. I'm using some 90 weight shock oil. This is what my hobby shop had in stock as far as brand goes, but the 90 weight is recommended actually by Jang from Ultimate RC, and so that will make your car handle much better, and because the stock suspension just snaps back instantly. So you want to have it actually, I'll show you, I've changed the front ones already, so you want to have it doesn't snap back instantly. It used to be almost as if there's no oil at all in it, so it will handle much better now. it springs back much slower. So, to fill the shocks, what we take the shock, put it like this, take your oil, and to start, you're just going to fill it up like a third full. And this is so you can get the air bubbles out. Now, because there might be air bubbles underneath the piston. So, what we'll do, we'll just push the shock up and down just a little bit, just compress it a bit. And that will get any air out that is under the piston. And you'll be able to see some bubbles inside your shock when you do this probably. And so you just gotta let those rise to the top, and they might take a while depending on the thickness of your oil. But then you can put a bit more oil in. I'm just going to do it again and make sure I got all the bubbles out. Because the air inside the shocks will make it handle terribly. So basically, we want to fill these shocks up until, because there's kind of a meniscus formed, like a concave lens. So we want to fill that up until the edge of that meniscus is just barely below the top of the shock body here. So, or like the top of the opening. So we just fill her up until it's almost overflowing. A little more. Alright, so it's right at the top now, pretty much. That's actually a little bit too much. Now, when you rethread this on, some is going to come out, but that's good because there's actually, on top of our shock cap, there's this blue bladder, and some air can get stuck under there. So what we need to do is get the air out. So that's why you put a little bit extra oil in. So expect some to come out when you thread it on. So just get it started, thread it on a little bit, and then you can already see some is coming out of this hole here, right there. So basically we're going to just depress the shock halfway, like just halfway, and that will force some of the oil out and all the air bubbles. And then now what we can do is we can just twist the shock on all the way. Twist it on all the way, and then grab your pliers again to tighten it. This time we're turning clockwise. Now, be sure not to over tighten it. Like, you want to have it fairly tight, but you don't want to over tighten it because they will strip because they're just plastic. Now, we'll just wipe off the extra oil that came out. And that's totally normal. You want that to come out. It will get rid of all the bubbles. But now that the oil is cleaned up, our shock is complete. Now, so we can see it's all back together. And I don't know if you can see that from the video, but it has much more dampening effect now. So I'll show you actually just the front of this car. Yeah, you see how it doesn't immediately spring back? It's kind of dampening, right? So that's our goal, because we want it to be damper, because otherwise it's really springy and it won't handle well. It'll feel like really, really springy. So now all that's left to do is install the shock back in here. So this is as you can see, it's a pretty easy, quick job. Oh, as far as shock installation goes, the end with the shock, the metal, what do you call it, ring in here, and the end with the threaded part goes at the bottom, like closest to the ESC and motor, and then the other end attaches to the actuator shock arm thing. So if we rethread this in, and then the back, Now you might have noticed that my back springs are not stock, they're silver. They used to be, I forget, I think they're purple, but they're from a Summit. I bought them used, and the person who had them before me just stripped all the paint off of them. So I guess they like that look better. But yeah, I bought them because the back springs are too soft, and I couldn't find the other springs that you needed, like just the slash ones, and so I figured the Summit ones would work okay, and I gave them a try, and they do. So, alright, there we go. Now it's installed. So I don't know if, here, I'll show you guys the difference. That brings back instantly. This one goes much slower. It's not really slow, but so that versus that, you can see it's slower, and so that will reduce the springiness of the car and greatly increase the handling. So that's a really cheap modification. This bottle was, I think, like $3 maybe for the shock oil, so I'd highly suggest doing that. It's a really cheap way to improve the performance of your car. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.